There are many stories that circulate around the town of Brimstone, particularly the woods. The locals believe that the woods are beyond a simple haunting, but more of a place of enchantment. A place with unforeseen forces that seem to come alive at night. Many brave, yet unfortunate souls that dared to venture out there were met with an untimely fate, never to return home again. There was no doubt that Brimstone Woods was a dangerous place, but alas, this is where Wolf ended up after his battle with Carl. Even though Wolf was injured, he continuously ran through the forest until he was utterly exhausted. There was a loud crack of thunder that echoed through the massive forest, and heavy rain soon followed. Luckily, there was a dry spot under a tree where he was able to take a brief nap on the ground and wait out the storm. After a few hours, he awakened and the rain had passed, but due to extreme dehydration, he'd become much weaker. To make matters worse, it was now much darker than it was earlier, making his surroundings nearly impossible to see. Wolf finds himself in a desperate situation, wet, cold, and famished. In the distance, he spots a speckle of light and decides to walk towards that light. As he began walking, he could hear the sounds of splashing water, so he picked up speed until he was met with a vast lake. The light from the moon gleamed onto the dark lake, creating a luminous glow. While staring into the water, he observes a figure swimming a few feet away. The figure is a blur at first, but after taking a closer look, he gleefully grinned at the fact that it was a female. He takes a few more steps and can see a red hooded coat lying on the ground. He looks up at the figure and wipes his eyes in disbelief, because it was apparent that the young woman was swimming nude. Wolf is intrigued by the young woman and stands to watch her swim for a few minutes.
What do we have here?
He smirked as he proceeded to watch her like prey, having many obscene thoughts. He looked around and could see that the two of them were completely alone. She was an easy target, but he needed to play his cards right, considering he's injured and desperate. He picked up her coat and sniffed it.
Oh, sweet.
As she set out towards land, Wolf promptly dashed in between large trees and hid quietly in the shadows. He watched her slowly swim out of the water and was aroused by her beauty.
Very sweet.
She suddenly felt uncomfortable, as if she knew there were eyes on her. She realized that her coat was missing, and her suspicions were now of great concern. There, she courageously called out to her assailant.
Who's out there? Show yourself!
There was no more reason for Wolf to hide, so he emerged from behind the trees with the coat dangling in his hand. She was now face to face with Wolf, and for a brief moment, the two stared at each other, with Wolf finally breaking the awkward silence.
Hey there, sweetness. Looking for this?
He pretended to hand her the coat, but when she tried to grab it, he quickly pulled it away. He does this twice, but by the third time, she annoyingly snatches it out of his hand. Wolf belts out a laugh when she hurries to put her coat back on, after feeling disgusted that he was her audience.
What you doing out here all alone?
What's it to ya?
Pretty girl should never be out in the woods alone.
I'll be fine. I know my way around.
Maybe I could accompany you on your way home.
She could see the lust in his eyes, and knew that the weird and filthy stranger didn't have good intentions.
That's okay. Grandmother is waiting. I have to go.
She turned to walk in the opposite direction, seemingly leaving him behind.
Grandmother, huh?
Wolf gathered his malevolent thoughts against both the young woman and the grandmother. Unbeknownst to Wolf, the young woman in red had a plan of her own. Instinctively, she knew that he was a dangerous man. Before he can do anything, she immediately started running. He took off right behind her, and tackles her to the ground, then hits her twice in the face. She screamed for help, but he covers her mouth and rips her coat open, excited to have his way with her. However, the young woman was stronger than he anticipated. Without warning, she bites the hand that's covering her mouth and spits burning saliva into both of his eyes. Wolf yells out in pain and releases his grip, allowing her to escape into the woods. Wolf stands from the ground and wipes his eyes to wipe away the burning sensation. Yet it only intensifies the pain. There was no time for him to care, when now his only agenda is once again revenge. He immediately set out to find the young woman, but not before noticing that she left a trail of muddy footprints.
You can run, but you can't hide.
He charged into the dark woods like a bat out of hell, steaming from his lustful anger, all too eager to find his runaway victim. He vigorously ran through the woods, following the footprints, checking every corner with the hopes of finding her. Yet due to his injuries, he's becoming disoriented. His vision was now blurry, and he began moving at a slower pace. He wondered what substance the woman spat into his eyes to have caused such a sting, and although he was getting weaker by the moment, onward he went. After walking for what seemed like an eternity, he reaches his breaking point and falls to the ground. He looks up and can see that the footprints have stopped. Then he takes a quick look around and was happy to see that he was facing the front yard of what seemed to be the grandmother's house. The house was dark, old, and uninviting, but that did not intimidate Wolf in the least. There was also a resembling red-hooded coat lying on the ground. He picked the coat up to sniff it again, but this time the scent was foul, and he immediately drops it back down. Wolf was becoming increasingly dizzy, but was able to muster up enough strength to continue to the front door. Before knocking, he opted to peep through the front windows. It was there he saw a small and frail older woman walking about. There was no doubt that she is the grandmother, and thus found the house he'd been looking for. He staggered towards the front door and knocked until his knocks were answered. That's when he heard a faint yet gentle voice on the opposite side of the door.
Who's there?
Wolf cleared his throat and lifted his deep voice, trying to sound as pleasant as he could.
Hi, I was in a terrible accident and could use some help. Could you please open the door?
The grandmother slowly opened the front door and allowed the sweaty and scruffy large man inside without apprehension.
Come on in.
She moved to the side and watched as the wet stranger entered her home. Right away, he could see the inside of her house was dark, with only candles lighting the home. Although he thought it to be odd, before he could speak to the old woman, he felt his knees buckle and was suddenly unable to stand. He helplessly falls onto her hardwood floors and could feel his vision slipping away. It seems as if the older woman wished to communicate with him, uttering words he wasn't able to comprehend. As he laid powerless on the floor, he could see the older woman watching and wait as Wolf's vision faded to black. An hour passes, and Wolf finally regained consciousness, but when he tries to move, he detected that he was paralyzed from the neck down. He was inside a candlelit bedroom with his body propped, sitting in a chair. His vision was still blurry, but once his eyes adjusted to the dimly lit room, he could see that he was not alone. There was someone in the room with him, standing directly in front of the bedroom door, facing his direction. Wolf was outraged by his mystified captor.
Hey, who's there? Step into the light so I can see you.
The figure moved closer, and he saw that it was the old grandmother.
Are you the grandmother?
I am.
Why the hell are your eyes so big?
The better to see you with,
Yeah, but your ears are huge.
so that I can hear your heartbeat.
Your arms, they're so big.
That way, you won't escape my grasp.
This time, she opened her mouth, revealing large, sharp teeth. He soon felt unsettled after realizing that he wasn't dealing with an older woman, but rather some sort of creature that seemed to transform right before his eyes the closer it got. For the first time in Wolf's life, he was terrified and unready to face his doom.
Your teeth, why are they so sharp?
So that I can eat you.
The old woman's voice changes from humanly innocent to deep and menacing. Wolf screamed in terror but was completely impotent as the grandmother transforms into an enormous, ravening werewolf. She wastes no time ripping and tearing into his flesh, grunting and howling with each bite. His screams were heard outside, and the young red cobra was all too eager to slither her way back into the lake, but not before she scurries across what was once a red hooded coat and is now her shedded skin.